This is football. I am Kevin Clark. Winners and losers. Boy, a lot of winners, a lot more losers. A lot of losers. We're going to get to them real quick. This is football is presented by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Download the app today. 21 plus gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. A couple quick ones off the top. I'm going to spend most of my time talking about the Eagles, who are the loser of all losers this week. Loser, Dillon Gabriel. Why? Because you're not getting the job back. You're not getting the job back. Kevin Stefanski said, a week ago, he said, well, he'll start when he comes back. And then today he said, I'm not going to get into all that stuff. Here's the problem with the Shedeur Sanders. I was pro Shedeur playing for the Browns this year because I thought that Deshaun Watson, obviously out of the picture, Joe Flacco, now part of the future. I assumed, and I said this on TV all summer, I assumed that by around now, Shedeur Sanders would outlast Dillon Gabriel. I don't think Dillon Gabriel is very good. Today, if you didn't like Shedeur Sanders coming into this game, you have enough ammo to say he's still not the guy. If you do like him, there's a hell of a lot of ammo to say he is the guy. And here's the most important thing for me. Wins are not a quarterback stat, but if you're a Cleveland Browns quarterback, they are a quarterback stat. They are. To win a game, any game as a Cleveland Browns quarterback is significant. There had not been since the team came back to Cleveland, since it was resurrected in Cleveland, there had not been a rookie to win his first start. It was the jersey, it was the 800 guys in the jersey thing, and all of those guys lost their first start unless you're Shedeur Sanders. So I think that I don't think he's the franchise quarterback. I don't think he's going to sign a $55 million deal 2 years from now, but I think he's the guy the rest of the way. I don't. There was so much juice in whether there was the chunk play to Isaiah Bond, whether it was the first down throws, whether it was, he threw the really bad interception, but there was juice. When was the last time there was juice at the quarterback position for the Cleveland Browns? I rest my case. Sorry, Dillon. Here's the thing. Dillon presented himself as a consummate backup, and he was going to support the team, support the starter. You can still do that, buddy. You can have a 10-year career. I don't think you're getting your job back. No juice. You can have a long career without juice. I've seen it. A lot of guys in the league right now don't have juice. Dillon, juiceless. It's okay. You can still get a paycheck. Winner Aaron Rodgers, real quick. I saw an amazing clip. There was an illegal formation, and this is the value of a guy like Aaron Rodgers. An illegal formation on the Steelers. Before the snap, Aaron Rodgers, hand on head, yelling illegal formation. Nobody sees it. It gets thrown. They lose today to the Bears. The Bears are awesome. We're going to talk more about them on Monday. And we talked about a bunch about him and everything they do with Kyle Long midweek. So a lot of Bears talk midweek. But that's the value of knowing what you're doing, the value of being a veteran. That's where it shows up. And so even if Aaron Rodgers can't move like he used to, you need him to be the quarterback and not Mason Rudolph for that. That type of intellect running the quarterback position can get you, 3.5 points. I'm not saying they would have beaten the Bears today, but maybe 3.5 points. I don't know what the value is, but the value of knowing what you're doing. He's seen it all. I'm just saying, everybody who kept saying, I thought arm-wise, talent-wise, there's not a huge drop-off between Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph right now, but there's still a value in having Aaron Rodgers back there. So winner, Aaron Rodgers being relevant. All right, now the main event. So first of all, before we get into Eagles Cowboys, I want to talk about a badass. We're going to do weekly badasses from now on in these Sunday shows. And I don't know if there's anybody even on the same planet of badassery as Elijah Clark. Elijah Clark will go on the wall behind me. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm sure you've seen it. If you've seen any of the social clips, that wall is brought to you by Manscaped. Upgrade your grooming routine with products built for modern men, now available at Walmart. Elijah Clark, if you didn't see it, I'm sure you did because they isolated it on Fox and Tom Brady said what an incredible teammate and all that stuff. So Sidney Brown from the Eagles knocks him on his butt 2.5 times, and he gets up on special teams as a gunner over and over and over again, keeps getting up, gets down the field, forces a massive fumble. The Eagles look all sorts of discombobulated. It actually didn't end up resulting in points, but it mattered. It mattered, and it was symbolic of how out of sorts the Eagles were the entire day. It was really, excuse me, in the second half. They started 21 up and then they just gave up. But they still, nothing seemed easy. And I want to get into this Eagles situation because if there was an easy fix, so I think sometimes teams pray that there's a solution, like, oh, we're going to use more motion, or oh, we're going to use more play action. By the way, the Cowboys used more play action on Sunday, and it worked. Turns out play action with Dak, it can work. I think it was 9 of 11 today. I think I saw. There isn't an easy solution here because it's 14 penalties, the most since Nick Sirianni's first game as a head coach. How do you fix that? You get players who don't commit penalties, you get them to play smart, you get them to focus. After the game, everybody's talking about focus and execution and all that stuff. That's what you don't want to hear. You want to hear, we know what we did, we'll fix it. Because typically players know. They haven't tightened up. Typically, the Eagles tighten up as the season goes along. They haven't done that. They needed the defense to save them, and the defense tried very, very badly, but there were a couple holes there. Okay. Next Gen Stats had it. How about this? Quinion Mitchell had his typical game, frankly. Cooper DeJean gave up 152 yards, third most scored in the NFL by any defender in a single game this season. 25 yards per target, ranking second most among defenders with 5 or more targets this year. Adoree Jackson, not a great game. And listen, this is a CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens stat just as much as an Eagles defense stat. But they couldn't help it, so they needed a little bit of help from the Eagles offense, and they simply weren't getting it. Why? Because the Eagles, I don't think, Sirianni said after the game he didn't think that the team took the foot off the gas. I think it's because they couldn't run the ball. Our buddy Nick Shil Kapadia says today was the Eagles' worst rushing success rate in a regular season game under Nick Sirianni. 18 carries, 63 yards, zero runs over 10 yards. With Saquon Barkley had the fumble. That's it. I think a lot of times, I'm going to take a step back here. Everybody's saying, oh, the AJ Brown thing, whatever. Brother, there are amazing dynasties, juggernauts, where the culture is way worse than what's going on in Philadelphia right now. And by the way, there was weird stuff just like this last year, and they had the players and they had the execution to make it not matter. The point of a good roster is to make your problems not matter. That's the whole thing. Howie Roseman papers over roster problems by stacking talent. And then these guys develop as the season goes along, and it's on the coaches to get these guys going and work them in. But typically, there's always someone coming to save them because they have the roster talent, because they got one guy who's going to make a play late in the fourth quarter. This is the type of game where typically the roster is so good, the one guy you maybe even forgotten about, or Howie took a flyer on or whatever, that he makes the play. It didn't happen today. It wasn't coming. Partially because the coaches and the players dug themselves in such a hole. And also that the Cowboys, they just had weapons. It was really, George Pickens is playing as good a receiver as anybody except Jackson Smith and Jigba. I saw some people who were like, oh, is George Pickens the best receiver in football? No, he's not. Jackson Smith and Jigba. I looked up today during the Titans game, and he was just throwing DBs to the side. He does contested catches and he just throws people afterwards. But that's not that. I think that the Eagles, and we have a couple of guests this week, and we'll talk about this, but I don't think the Eagles are broken for the reason that I just outlined. I still think 1 through 53 the best roster in the sport. I do worry a little bit about the offensive line consistency, because that was always the certainty. I think a lot of times, guys, you have to worry if a team's certainty is their identity is starting to slip, and the trenches is always their identity. So part of the reason I was so nervous about the Baltimore Ravens, and still am, is because the defense struggled so much, and that was their identity. And now looking at it, and they're winning games, and they're probably going to make the playoffs. But now it's Lamar and his ability to convert, especially on the money downs, which it's looked a little weird the last few weeks. So my problem with the Ravens right now is the lack of identity. Is what is their identity right now? Derrick Henry scoring 2-yard runs, that's great, but it was a weird game against the Jets. They've had a bunch of weird games. I think that if your identity is not coming through, you've got problems as a franchise. So if the D line for the Eagles is amazing, the O line right now, that's the question. So that's one thing that gives me pause. but I'm not ready to say, oh, they're broken. This isn't going to be like 2 years ago where they went to Tampa Bay and got their butt kicked, right? I still believe in them. I still believe in this roster. But the problem right now is it's everything. Just sloppy play, and frankly, he's on Sirianni. And I don't think I saw a lot of people. There was a little bit too much panic. I saw one of the B writers was like, "Is this the worst Eagles loss ever, brother? What did you just wake up from a 30-year even NFC Championship games you guys lost in the 2000s? Was anybody awake for that?" That is, if anything, that's a testament to what Nick Sirianni has built. That we think that a November 23rd loss is the worst Eagles loss ever. I grew up under a lot of Eagles fans, man. I had one buddy who used to not watch the Super Bowl, just as big a football fan as I am, would not watch a Super Bowl because the Eagles would have blew it 2 weeks earlier. All those times. He would watch like The Lion King on TBS. That's what was going on in the 2000s. Anyway, this is on Sirianni. At some point, he's got, so this year his job is not on the line, I promise you. But just remember, Doug Peterson won the most improbable Super Bowl of the modern era, probably. I guess maybe the Giants over the Patriots. But Nick Foles beating Tom Brady, pretty up there. And a couple years later, Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie didn't like the staff changes they were going to make, and he didn't have a job anymore. So just remember that. What Andy Reid, on balance, even though he won the Super Bowl, Andy Reid did a hell of a lot more for the Eagles franchise than the three guys who came after him. Okay, he established the franchise. They fired him. I'm just saying, I think that everything will be fine. They'll be fixed. But that's the one sort of worst case scenario for everybody. Is it doesn't get fixed, the Eagles are not going to sit there and wallow in their mistakes. They're going to move forward. So a lot to get to, but the issue right now is that it's everything. It's everything with the Eagles, and there's no segment on TV this week that's going to explain all of their problems. And if somebody says that it is, it's not. It's not true. Loser math. I love analytics. I've written a bunch of stories about analytics. I've had analytics pods. You've heard them if you listen to this show. I am getting closer and closer and closer to becoming Mr. Take the Points. The Cowboys got away with it when they went for it on fourth down in a tie game. I think you take the points if it's a damn tie game. And by the way, the Eagles were reeling on offense. It's the second half. The Eagles can't move the ball. They're making mistakes all over the place. Kick the field goal, which eventually you did. You won 24-21. But a couple drives earlier, we're at the 1 yard line. We'll just screw around. We'll just call weird passing plays. Let's just do weird drop back passing plays and see what happens. Abysmal. They had already blown a 21-point lead, and you were going to be able to give them the ultimate kind of headlock. Put them in a headlock and give them a little noogie, because they're going to fully blow a 21-point lead. You're going to go up 24-21. That is a cosmic blow and an ego blow and like everything. And you didn't want to do it because you wanted to go for it on fourth down. Why? You weren't in some 56 epic match. The Eagles couldn't move the ball. So anyway, not about the Cowboys. They won the game. The Jaguars also got away with it. They go for it on 4th and 1. But they go for it. They go down. This is in the fourth quarter. They're up 3 points against Cardinals. They go downfield, and it's their play was an incomplete pass, and it's Tim Patrick begging for a flag. That's your 4th and 1 call. Run a damn tush push. Do you do anything other than that? What? Why? And so Mike Kafka, same thing. Giants are up 3. They go for it against the Lions. They try to put the game away. And the Lions drive down the field. They get a 50-something yard field goal. Jake Bates. They tie the game. I didn't hate it at the time, but then you play the results, you kind of see it. The Lions, especially against Shane Bowen's defense with New York, the Lions are the type of team that could move the ball very, very, very quickly against a defense like the Giants. I understand that point. But maybe the issue then is your defensive coordinator keeps blowing these leads. You're the guy that kept him on staff. And there were all these reports that last week you were going to fire your DC and you didn't. So Mike Kafka, this one might be on you, buddy. I'm going to throw Mike Kafka in the losers category because I think Mike Kafka, if he wins this game against the Lions, he's getting a lot of buzz for head coach. A lot. Winner. The Kansas City Chiefs. I was going to make a long... If I started talking about Jameis Winston, I'd never stop. Jameis Winston going down. I think Jameis Winston should... Roger Clemens came back for the Yankees, and he would just go and play for a contender every year. Jameis Winston should go play for the worst team in football every single year around now and just throw the ball down the field. 18 completions for 366 yards. All right. Off that, winner Kansas City Chiefs. They didn't even improve that much today. They just sharpened up and they beat the team that people thought was the best team in the AFC a couple weeks ago. And Daniel Jones was pressured on 40% of his dropbacks, above his season average. He completed just 6 of his 13 attempts, 47 yards. And the Chiefs on the other side, 33 first downs, most by any team in a game this season. And what that shows me, so Mahomes had said midweek that teams were giving them the deep pass, they just weren't hitting the shots. The man coverage statistics are horrible, and they continue to be horrible, by the way, today. Rashee Rice was amazing against zone today, horrible against man. That's just going to continue, and that's a weapon stat, not a quarterback stat. That's a guy's just aren't getting open. So Mahomes basically said, they're giving us the deep shot the way they're playing us. We're not hitting it. And it felt today like for the first time, they were kind of just going underneath and figuring out the holes in the zone and not trying to be world beaters. Okay. They were truly taking what the defense gives them, which, by the way, has historically been when Mahomes has been at his best since Tyreek Hill left the building. Okay. Rice finishes with 111 yards on 4 receptions, 47-yard gain on a 4th and 3 that set up the field goal. I'm looking at it now. 7 of his 8 targets were against zone coverage. He was 1 of 4 for 19 yards against man coverage. So they kind of know what they need to do if they get zone here. And by the way, they were playing a lot of man because they got Sauce Gardner, and that's just kind of what they want to do now. The Colts, that is. But the Chiefs winning this game, while not tangibly changing much, just sharpening up a little bit, it shows you how much closer they are to being a great team than we thought last week. And I said that, you look at the underlying stats, everything was there. Everything was there. But they just needed to get 4% better at everything and look like that today. Winner, real quick. We're going to have this team a little more, but during the week. But Caleb Williams had his second fastest time to throw of the season. And it was funny because they're winning now. They're putting up points. Caleb Williams is throwing in rhythm. And my former colleague, Stephen Ruiz, had a great tweet. It was just like, who is going to be Cam Ward's Ben Johnson? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know who. Ben Johnson for 3 years was the hottest name for offensive coordinator and turned down head coaching jobs. There's no Ben Johnson to come save the Tennessee Titans. But there's got to be somebody. And I'm waiting for that because Cam Ward looked really good today. Really, really good. Who didn't look good? Loser, JJ McCarthy. Just awful. And it's at this point, again, Kevin O'Connell preaches patience, the quarterback journey, all this stuff. You are unfortunately lowering the ceiling significantly to the point they can't even do anything with a championship level skill position group and a defense that can win you any game. 87 yards today, multiple picks, took 5 sacks. He just, outside the opening drive, he looks completely lost. And I'm not sure how you fix it. Maybe you need to go back to the soft benching, but Carson Wentz was never the answer. Maybe the answer was to sign somebody better than Carson Wentz. It's a good way to end it. All right, Monday morning, we're going to have a great guest, and then we're going to get the episode out to you Monday afternoon. That's why we're doing kind of a shorter episode here. Thank you to Miles. We will see you this week. Happy Thanksgiving. This is football. This is Betting is brought to you by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Bet $10 to get $100 in bonus bets when you use code Clark. 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Monday Night Football. Panthers at Niners. Panthers a 7-point dog. 8:15 kick Eastern time. I know the Panthers have been inconsistent. I know this. I know I've said a lot about Bryce Young. But let me tell you a Bryce Young stat I saw that stopped me in my tracks the other day. Bryce Young has led 10 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter and overtime in his career, accounting for 83% of his wins. That actually might be a bad stat because it means you're having to come from behind all the time, but some of that's not Bryce Young's fault. It's the highest percentage of career quarterback wins on game-winning drives of any quarterback to win at least 10 games since 1970. What I'm trying to tell you is that Bryce Young has a clutch gene. And maybe he's not the long-term guy there, but he's absolutely built for stealing a game like this. This Carolina Panthers team is going to make the playoffs. They're going to cover the 7-point spread. Give me the Panthers. 7-point dogs.